Again, welcome. Thank you for being here today. This month has been a Life Mastery Month, what we call Life Mastery Month, and we have really basically based our 4 talks this month on the 4 agreements. Probably many of you have already heard of the 4 agreements. Don Miguel Ruiz wrote this book many years ago, but it has been kind of a standard. It has been kind of a very basic book that is easy to read, easy to understand, and maybe difficult sometimes to achieve. So we based our month's talk about this, and mine today is based on the 3rd chapter, which is assumptions. Don't make assumptions. Now, a little bit of background before I begin, because I thought it was, well, for me, it's very interesting to know about the person, the author, maybe the background of the book a little bit. And Don Miguel is a shaman from the Toltec tradition. Now, he wasn't always a shaman. He didn't start off, and he wasn't trained as that when he was young. He was actually attending medical school, and he either was or was practicing to be a surgeon. He had a very bad car accident, and it sent him home, and he moved back to Mexico for his recovery. And his mother was a healer in their tradition, in their tribe. Now he began his his self-inquiry then. He started looking at who he was and what what life was about. And he started studying with his grandfather, who was in the Toltec tradition, he was a shaman. I don't know how to pronounce it, but I think it's Nagual. He was a Toltec shaman. And he started studying with them. Now, a shaman, according to Don Miguel, is a person who guides individuals to freedom by revealing the self-limiting habits and beliefs that they have. Self-limiting beliefs that rob us of our joy and create needless suffering. Needless suffering, he said, by those beliefs we hold. The Toltecs were considered really the predecessors for the Aztec culture in Mexico. And the Toltecs were some 1,100 years ago. And basically the Toltecs were the artisans. They were the scholars of this ancient tradition. Now in their tradition they had a story. They told the story of man. And their story is that some 3,000 years ago, man awoke and knew there was something more than what they had been taught, something more than what their teachers had said, that all that they knew was not the complete truth. And he began to doubt some of the things he knew or had been taught. And he began believing that everything was light. Everything was made of light. That he was made of light. And that the space in between everything was not empty. It was not empty space. He knew that everything, in fact, was part of one living being. And that light was the messenger of life. And that it contained all information. He knew that life was the force of the absolute, the supreme, the creator. And he knew that what created harmony between any 2 things was intention. Everything was a manifestation of the one, and the one was everything. And how he explained himself that man was light perceiving light. Light perceiving light. And that matter was just simply a mirror reflecting light and creating images of that light. The truth being that all matter was an illusion. The truth being real us was love, was that light, was that energy. That's all. And a lot of this really hit home with me. This is very familiar to the science of mind teachings, to what we teach and believe here. So as I stand here, I am the image, a reflection of you. And you are an image and a reflection of me. So when you stand there and you say, Namaste, the spirit within me honors the spirit within you. Have a little respect. It's you you're talking to. It's God you're talking to. So, if you've been following the past weeks and the 4 agreements, and know that, like I said, we're divided into the 4 weeks. First week, Reverend Lyle talked about the first agreement was be impeccable with your word. Speak with integrity, say what you mean, and leave the judgmental, critical, gossipy self somewhere else. Be impeccable. And to remember that your words create your life experience. So take special care of the words that you use. Because your words are a gift. She said, what you feel and what you dream is what you manifest. It's not just a sound, the word. It's a universal force. It creates. Be impeccable with your word. And the next week she talked about don't take anything personally. Remember, nothing others do is because of you. What they even think of you is none of your business. You know, we tend to make everything about ourselves. Like the whole world revolves around us. And I'm going to use it tonight. She said it quite often. Stop it. Sound familiar? Stop it. And then she gave us each some homework, and I'm going to give you some homework too. It's sort of like, how long can you go this week? First was, be impeccable with your word. No judgment, no criticism, no gossip. Not how many days, but for some, how many hours can you go? Not taking anything personal, either of what others say, or what you think they're saying, or feeling, or seeing. Don't take it personally. How long can you go? And taking things personally, what does it accomplish? Really, when you start going into that, it makes you a victim of other people's opinion, which is only based on their opinion of themselves and their projections onto you. So don't take it personally. This third week, don't make assumptions. And I thought, matter of fact, this is perfect for me. Don't make assumptions. I can do this because I don't assume. I think of myself as a man of science. I I'm an engineer. I'm a man of logic. I think with the left side of my brain. I deal in facts. And I take things very literally, sometimes too literally. And I love to do things with an open mind. So I don't assume anything. And after Claire stopped laughing, she said, "You better start taking notes for this talk, because you assume me all the time." I assumed she was wrong. But, like I said, being open-minded, I'll play along, I'll see what happens. I'll be taking notes over the next week, 2 weeks before I have to speak to see what I come up with. Well, it only took a couple of days, and I had enough notes to do the complete talk. So what I found out was that, in fact, I assume all the time. Big lesson for me putting together this talk, because I learned that very early on. And she said, not only do you assume all the time, you're usually wrong. That's still up for debate. Now, I'm going to share some of my assumptions with you later, but first let me tell you a few things about what Don Miguel writes in his book. The very first sentence that he writes in his chapter on assumptions is that we all make assumptions about everything. So, don't take it personally. We all do this. And here's the kicker, he said, we all believe that our assumptions are true. In fact, he said, we could swear they're real, that what I assume is right. We make assumptions about what other people are doing or thinking, and then we take it personally. I assumed you were going to tell me that. All the time. And then, after we've assumed what they're doing and thinking, we blame them for what we think they meant. And then we send out our poison words based on that. Go back to chapter 1. Watch your words, don't take it personally, and then don't assume, okay? They're very simple steps, but wow, they are not easy. They are not easy. So if I'm watching my words, and I'm not taking anything personally, all of a sudden, I assume I know what you're thinking and feeling, and it all goes out the window. Back to step 1. Don Miguel had said that nearly all sadness and drama in your life has been rooted in making assumptions and then taking it personally. Nearly all of your sadness or drama is because you've taken something personally and that you assumed that you know the truth, and it may not even be so. And really, it's because we believe that we're right. And we don't even, see, when you're assuming, you believe you're right, and you don't need to ask for clarity, because why would you ask for clarity if you know you're right? As a matter of fact, we normally and usually go right to defense instead of clarity. We begin defending what we know, we heard, what we know, we thought, what we know, we've seen. And we begin defending our position on your actions based on what we believe to be the truth. And that was huge for me when I read that. It's like, so I'm going to say it again. We begin defending our position on your actions based on what we believe to be your truth. Does that sound a little... What's wrong with that statement? Do I really do that? And then after we make this assumption on what you stated on and what we believed you meant, then we make you wrong. It's a lot to take in. You know, it's sort of like, say my brother doesn't like science of mind. What? Doesn't like science of mind? So what comes right up into my mind is that, well, if he doesn't like science of mind, he doesn't like me. He doesn't respect what I think. He thinks I'm foolish. Is any of that true? That's an assumption. Now, you may be making assumptions right now that my brother and I don't get along. Stop. Just see how automatic it is? It's just an example, but those are the types of things that happen. And of course, maybe I'm assuming you're assuming that we're having trouble. Stop. You can see the mess we get ourselves into, right? He calls it living in a fantasy world of make-believe. This is Miguel. That we literally dream up in our imaginations these things because we don't understand. And we make an assumption because we are afraid to ask for clarity. We seem to have a need to justify and explain everything in order to feel safe and in control. And it doesn't even need to be true. It just needs to fit to make us feel safe or in control. Communicating can be difficult because whether someone tells you something or omits to tell you something, we will make assumptions to fulfill our need to know and thereby replace the need to communicate. The need to communicate at all. We can assume and we know we're right. Don't need to talk about it. It's already done. We're sure we heard and we know the truth, and it's safer and it's easier to stop it there. But it doesn't stop there. And it takes courage to ask questions. What will they think of me? What will the reaction be if I question them? Will there be judgment? Will there be blame? Will there be abuse or criticism? Will there be rejection? All of those things could come up when you ask questions. And in doing that, we victimize ourselves. And don't just think that we assume with others. We also assume about ourselves. And that creates a lot of inner conflict, a lot of inner turmoil. We assume we can, or we assume we can't do something. We assume that we aren't enough, that we aren't smart enough, that we aren't good enough. Is it true? Have we asked? Have we looked? Or is it just based on what someone else said and we took personally? And in essence, if you're doing that, you're lying about yourself, to yourself, in order to prove yourself right. We're so messed up. Okay. Now, a couple of examples. It's my assumptions. Some of them may be funny, some of them you may think are really odd. And these are very simple things, but it may enlighten or give you an opportunity to say, I do that, or for you really to get the idea that I'm nothing special up here. So, I think one of the first things I did was, honey, I'll be right back. Well, no, it's true. I'll be right back. So now after 42 years, I absolutely know that she knows what I mean. It means that after what I'm going to do, then I will be right back. And she puts a time on it that says, I'll be right back means I'll go to the garage, I'll turn around and come back. That's right back. For me, if I'm going to go to wash the car and I'll be right back 2 hours from now, how could you misunderstand? So her idea of right back is immediate, and I'd have to agree. Immediately after I wash the car, I'll be back. So here's something else that's unfair about that assumption, is that when she says I'll be right back, I assume she'll be right back. Right back. In a minute. She'll go there and come right back. Because I understand and I know. I've already figured that out. And it's crazy. And it could lead to miscommunication, confusion, upset, possibly. Even if you don't do anything like that, you can imagine how that would work out. Don Miguel says, making assumptions, especially in a close relationship, is asking for trouble. Because we often assume we know our partners. And we know what they think. And we don't ever ask for what we want. Because they should know. There's something wrong. I mean, you've ever come home and someone's upset and you say, what's wrong? And it's like, well, if I have to tell you, I don't know. I'm kind of clueless anyway, so that happens to be a lot.
I don't say that.
She doesn't say that. So my time is limited, so it's so much I can't go into all of them. I'm just going to give a few other highlights here. Honey. So now I find it's always nice to start off with honey. Especially if you're going to assume something. I told you, because she asked, what are you talking about this week? It's assumptions, right? I told you before what my talk is about, and I assumed you would remember, so asking me again just is upsetting. I assumed you would remember. I'm not going to tell you again. Or, sweetie, I figured, you said we're going to go to the store. You have to go wash your hair. So I figured it all out and I calculated how long it would take. And I've been waiting. You weren't ready in the amount of time I said. So here's another assumption. You see, these are all very simple. They're all very basic. They're all things we probably do. But that assuming that I knew, I figured it out, and you're not here, so now I'm upset. Why do we do that? And let me tell you, it doesn't usually work out. as it does in my head. Now I turn signal on, I'm ready to turn, and they're not letting me turn. Don't they see my signal? I'm assuming they see mine. And I'm making them wrong. Again, it's not my fault. I had my signal on.
You're assuming they care.
I'm assuming they care.
And you're taking it
What are you
personally.
from California?
Come on, road rage doesn't know.
Not here. And there's one more big one. I'll cut a few of these out, but one other big one is that I assume that I know my wife better than anybody. I assume that I know her better than she knows herself. So sometimes when I'm cooking, well, I'm sorry, I'll speed up, I'll get it ready. And I said, that's not what I was thinking. Oh, well, I assume that's what that meant. So she, and I'll misread something, I'll think she's sad, and she's not sad, she's just was watching something on TV, and maybe I misread it, but I assumed I knew what it was, and just so based the rest of my reaction or that time together based on how she's feeling, and I didn't ask. I just assumed I knew exactly what she was feeling because I know her so well. And I was wrong. There again, misunderstanding. How does that happen? How does that happen? I remember when I was, let's see, I'm just a chatterbox. I said one more, but I remember when I was a child and my mother, she really liked, when she said, go mow the lawn, she meant now. So I'd forgotten about that, but my life now is like when I'm told to do something, whether it was at work by my boss, or whether it's at home, we need milk. Where are my keys? I'm going to the store right now. It was implanted in there when I was 9 years old, 10 years old, whatever, so it's still there. And then I found out when I'm at work and my boss tells me to do something, it's not that I don't want to do it, it's not that I don't like change or whatever that is. I did that, it was that reaction that I had in me from when I was very little. Gotta do it now. And then, so I started rebelling. So, but I do that at home. It's like we need to paint this wall.
No.
Where's he go? He's downstairs getting the drag out. I guess I got to paint the wall. Yes, to constantly remind me, not now, but we need to paint this wall. Okay, that helps. People, don't make assumptions. Don't make assumptions. It is, without making assumptions, your words mean more, they become more impeccable because it's more truth than you just making up things. Your relationships change. If there's no misunderstandings and there's none of that upset, things are different. And we all have this habit of assuming. Understanding is not enough. So this message is like, now that you know, no. It's not enough just to know. Knowing is the first step. This is just step one. Step two is the action. The action of, how do you not make assumptions? Ask a question. That's step two. Ask. That's the action. There isn't clarity. Ask. Step 3, repeat 2. Step 4, repeat 2. Repeat. Until there is a replacement, a new habit that replaces that old habit. And this assuming it happens not just in relationships and to people you're close with, it happens, we know, around the world. We assume. We think we know truth. But is it really true? So stop assuming. And you pretty much eliminate taking things personally, and your words become more impeccable. So I assume you've had a good morning. All is well. Wake up, Emily. It's an assumption. It's right there. So, your homework is to, how long can you go without assuming something, making it up as you go along? An hour, 2. See if you can go till next Sunday, and then you'll learn the 4th chapter of the 4 agreements, and it will get you another homework after that one. So, let us close in prayer. Just take a moment, relax in your seat. You know what? I'm going to ask too, Michael and Allison, Claire, if you would just add your energy to this. These are our practitioners here at Satya. Just join with me. Feel the energy of circle around you. And close your eyes as they would play something beautiful behind me. And their music, let it soak into your heart and your soul. And know the truth about who you are. That we are light. That we are love. And there is a connection between all things. Between you and the birds and the trees. Between you and the person sitting next to you. We are all light, perceiving light. The image in front of you is a compilation of all of these energy, these atoms and molecules to make us who we are. We are consciously aware of the divine intelligence that surrounds us, of the creator of all things. Just breathe that in and know how magnificent you are. We don't have to make things up. We do not have to assume anything. We are whole and complete and beautiful just as we are. We are love and we are light. And everyone we see is a reflection of us. I want more love in my life. Be more loving. I want better health. Do healthy things. Just know that you are connected to it all. What you do affects us. What I do affects you and the world. Just breathe and know you are enough. That you are magnificent. That you are a lovable, loving being. A spot of light. God expressing. As we share these thoughts, we give thanks. We give thanks for all things. And in that gratitude,
energy is emitted, emoted forth to create more of that. Just let it go. Free yourself, free your thoughts. Let go and let God. And so it is. Thank you. Thank you. The children are back. I see one. This is our time for our offering. Plans and Ernesto always help me with this. I see Chuck is not here today, so I need. And third person, Michael, are you available to help with the ushering today? Thank you. In our program, we have an offering blessing. You can find that in your program. Just read that along with me.
Joyfully I give with gratitude, for I know that as I give, I am given. I allow the abundant nature of the universe to flow through me now. I am so blessed, and so it is.
Thank you.